King Charles reportedly walked into a private meeting expecting a routine update. He walked out realising something no British monarch has faced in decades. There is one part of the royal fortune he cannot control, and the person blocking him is his own son. Here's what's actually happening, based on how royal trusts, hereditary funds, and succession law work in the UK. Because the real story isn't about drama between Charles, Camilla, and William. It's about a quiet legal structure inside the monarchy that most people didn't even know existed. Until this year. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. When the late Queen Elizabeth II passed away, she didn't just leave behind a crown. She left behind a system, a set of rules built specifically to protect the monarchy from itself, from favouritism, from personal decisions, even from the king. Now, according to royal finance analysts, that system is being tested for the first time, and Camilla is at the centre of it. Here's the core fact you need to understand. The British monarchy runs on two very different types of money. One belongs personally to the king. He can spend it, gift it, or leave it to anyone he wants, including Camilla. The other is protected. It's called the hereditary estate. Assets, properties, and reserves designed to pass down the direct royal bloodline. Not to spouses, not to friends, not favourites, only to heirs. And that second category? The king does not fully control it. He never has. Most people assume the king owns everything. He doesn't. Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, the Crown Jewels, the Royal Art Collection, the Duchy Estates, none of these belong to Charles personally. They belong to the institution of the monarchy. He holds them in trust for the next generation. That's why William, as heir, has a legal role in protecting these assets. Not because he's fighting his father, but because that's literally the job of a future king. Now here's where it gets interesting. But here's the real issue. And this is where the confusion started. Reports in the British tabloid press have suggested that Camilla is being blocked from royal funds. That framing makes it sound like a punishment. It isn't. It's a structure. And that structure was written long before Charles became king. Think about it from the monarchy's perspective. If every new king or queen could redirect hereditary wealth to their spouse's children from a previous marriage, or their personal favourites, the entire system would collapse within 2 or 3 generations. So over centuries, British royal advisors built safeguards, trust rules, written memoranda, independent trustees, all designed to make sure the hereditary line stays intact, no matter who sits on the throne. Queen Elizabeth II reportedly reinforced several of these rules during her reign, and that's what's now shaping the conversation around Camilla's future. Now this changes everything because it means the story isn't really about Camilla at all. Let's clear up what Camilla actually has, because most coverage gets this wrong. Camilla is queen. She holds the title. She holds ceremonial standing. She has personal wealth from her own family and from Charles directly. She has residences. She has staff. She has security. None of that is at risk. What she does not have, and was never legally entitled to, is control over the hereditary trust assets that pass to William and eventually to George. That's not a demotion. That's the same rule that applied to Prince Philip. It applied to the Queen Mother. It applies to every royal spouse. The only reason it feels like news right now is because Charles is the first modern king to marry a woman who wasn't part of the traditional royal structure from the beginning. And here's the moment that made this story explode. According to palace watchers, Charles reportedly wanted to create a private arrangement, a way to guarantee Camilla long-term financial security, using resources connected to protected royal properties. Something modest, something quiet, something no one would notice. But the trustees, including William, reportedly declined. Not because they wanted to hurt Camilla, because the rules don't allow exceptions, not even for a queen, not even for the king's wife. And that's when the reality hit the palace. The King of England, the man at the top of the entire system, cannot rewrite the rules his mother left behind. But here's what almost no one is asking. William is not doing this out of resentment. He's doing it because he has to. As the direct heir, William's legal responsibility is to protect the inheritance for his own children, George, Charlotte, Aziz, and Louis. If he allows exceptions today, those exceptions become precedent. And precedent in the British monarchy is almost impossible to reverse. Royal legal experts have pointed out for years that the heir often holds more real power over hereditary assets than the sitting monarch. It sounds strange, but it's by design. The reigning king manages the crown. The heir protects its future. That's why the tension inside the palace isn't a conflict. It's a system working exactly the way it was built to work. A lot of the coverage around this has painted William as cold, or Charles as weak, or Camilla was excluded. None of that is accurate. What's actually happening is much simpler. The monarchy is transitioning, Charles is aging, William is preparing, and the structures around royal wealth are being enforced more carefully because the next generation is approaching. Every modern monarchy has faced this exact moment: Spain, Norway, the Netherlands. When the heir starts stepping into real responsibility, financial rules get tighter. It's routine. It just happens to be more visible in Britain because of the media attention. Here's why this matters beyond one family. The British monarchy is one of the largest privately connected estates in the world. The Crown Estate alone is worth over £15 billion, according to public filings. The Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall add billions more. Add art, jewels, private residences, and historical assets, and the total is enormous. Every rule around royal money exists because that wealth doesn't belong to any single person. It belongs to the institution. And the institution has to survive for centuries, not just one reign. If Charles could simply redirect protected assets to Camilla, the same logic would allow future kings to redirect them to anyone they wanted. The monarchy would slowly stop being a hereditary institution and start being a personal one. That's the risk the rules exist to prevent. And this has quiet consequences beyond the UK. The British monarchy is a soft power institution. It affects tourism, diplomacy, Commonwealth relations, and Britain's global brand. Investors, foreign governments, and international media all watch how it functions. When the rules around royal wealth hold firm, even under emotional pressure, it signals stability. It tells the world that Britain's oldest institution is still governed by structure, not personality. That's actually good news for the monarchy's long-term future, even if the short-term headlines look uncomfortable. Now here's where it gets really interesting. There are 3 likely outcomes analysts are watching. First, Charles will almost certainly use his personal estate to guarantee Camilla's long-term security. He has substantial private wealth from the Duchy of Cornwall accumulated over decades. He can protect her without touching hereditary assets. That's the most likely path. Second, William will likely maintain a public position of respect for Camilla, while quietly reinforcing the trust boundaries. This is the same balance he's shown for years: duty on the inside, warmth on the outside. Third, the palace communications team will likely release quiet clarifications rather than dramatic statements. The royal family rarely responds to tabloid framing directly. They respond by adjusting behaviour, not by issuing denials. Watch for small signals over the coming months: a change in official appearances, adjustments in household staff, updated financial disclosures. Those are where the real story will actually appear. Let's be honest about why this story exploded online. The framing of the king can't save his wife is emotionally powerful. It taps into every classic royal drama: love, power, family, tradition, and exclusion. Tabloids and social media accounts leaned into that framing because it drives engagement. But when you strip away the drama and look at what's actually happening, the story is much more ordinary, and in some ways, more reassuring. The British monarchy is functioning exactly the way it was designed to function. The rules are holding, the heir is doing his job, the king is respecting the structure, and the queen consort remains fully protected in every way that actually matters. Here's what most people miss about institutions like this. Stability doesn't come from a strong leader. It comes from strong rules that survive weak moments. Every monarchy, government, and long-term organisation eventually faces a leader who wants to bend the system for personal reasons. The ones that survive are the ones where the system pushes back. That's what's happening here. Not a family fight, not a betrayal, just a system doing what it was built to do. The real story isn't Camilla being blocked from money. It's the British monarchy showing that even in 2025, with a modern king and a modern royal family, the ancient rules still hold. The crown is bigger than any single person wearing it. And that might be the most important sign of institutional health the monarchy has shown in years. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening inside the palace, hit that like button. Subscribe for more clear analysis on the stories the headlines get wrong, and drop a comment below with your take. Do you think the monarchy's structure is protecting itself the right way? Or is it too rigid for a modern royal family? See you in the next one.